So here our thinking about learning organisations intersects with the literature on double loop learning, which differentiates two different types of learning on how to do things better, single loop learning, and reflecting on what it is that should be done in the first place, double loop learning. Double loop learning gets us to observe and question the underlying theories of action that drive our decisions to act a certain way. It allows us to explore the tension between doing things better and doing better things. In our policing context, between what works and what really matters. Double loop learning is also about action. It is the one thing to have these insights and revelations, but they mean nothing unless we change our behaviour as a result. To this end, there are parallels too with the reflective practitioner based on Kolb's experiential learning cycle. Here, the practitioner is only truly reflective if she or he makes sense of why they behave in a given way and then commits to trying new things in the future. Both these things share a spirit with systems thinking, and in that the question we ask ourselves to prompt double loop learning and reflection is what's really going on here? Now, there's more than a hint of this type of thinking in problem-orientated policing, of course, so we in many ways are already well versed in the mechanisms of double loop learning. And reflective practice, of course, is the mainstay of many recruit training programs, as well as our own leadership offerings at the AIPM. But what I wonder about POP, about double loop learning, and about reflection, and about systems thinking is how capable we really are in policing to move beyond our police thinking, to move beyond seeing everything through a police lens, and by doing so, to avoid falling into the trap of thinking we're engaging in deep questioning of our assumptions and beliefs, when in fact we're continuing to see every problem as a nail because all we have in our toolkit is a hammer. And the reason I wonder this tendency is because of a tendency, I think, to see the things we're called on to deal with in policing as falling into one of two categories. Someone else's problem that we're getting dragged into because they're not doing their job properly, or something we can fix by throwing more bodies at it. Let's explore a couple of examples here. Let's take the high number of mental health incidents that police officers are called to regularly. There's some evidence that as many as 30% of calls to police involve some mental health element. And there's long been a discussion in policing about how we can extricate ourselves from the more time-consuming elements of this. The received wisdom is that police engagement with people with a mental illness, especially that which doesn't involve a crime, is a result of health, social services, or some other department not doing their job effectively, not caring effectively for people in the community. And there's certainly some truth to this, of course. So the resulting policing solution is to clearly demarcate the police response, so that even the more recent laudable work in New South Wales, looking at police dealing more intelligently with persons with a mental illness in crisis, there's a heavy dose of just get them to hospital as quickly as possible, and then it's up to health, who frankly have to pull their socks up. Now, there's some sense in this approach from a police perspective, but it's not a systems thinking approach. We continue to see our role in the same way as we've always seen our role, albeit more streamlined or with better communication with our partners. We tend not to ask if there's another way we can view this challenge. A second issue highly salient in the Australian policing context at the moment is the low level of female retention and advancement in policing, against a backdrop of investigations into hypermasculine cultures, stories of gendered bullying, harassment and discrimination in the workplace. And we routinely categorise this as the fault of the women, of course. They're not putting themselves forward for promotion, and without more women, how can we expect the culture to change? We fix the problem by throwing more bodies at it, female bodies. Our solution is to create leadership pathways for women, all-women selection panels, and to set targets and quotas for management positions. But we still recruit women in the same way we always have. We still promote people based on the same criteria of suitability and success. And beyond some arm-wavy argument about women being good for organisational productivity or optics for our communities, we really don't know why we want more women in the police service, and we really can't articulate why we might want to think about the issue in a whole different way. We don't ask ourselves what's really going on here. The pressure to be policey is immense. It always was, and unless we learn to question some of those underlying assumptions and shape the view of our stakeholders to buy a space to be able to do that, it always will be. Being held captive to a set of tools that we currently have available to us holds our organisations back from experimenting with different ways to influence the system and from transforming in meaningful ways.